Welcome to the channel, my friend. Today you'll find out how your life would have been if you were born Donald Trump and this was your entire life. So let's begin. You were not born in a palace. You were born in Queens, New York in 1946, in a world of concrete ambition and sharp elbows. Your father is Fred Trump, a hard builder of outer borough apartments, a man who counts dollars like a priest counts sins. Your mother, Mary Ann, came from Scotland, with an accent and discipline carved by distance. You were not raised to drift, you were raised to win. As a boy, you grow up in a big house, but comfort does not mean softness. Everything around you teaches one lesson: the world respects force. In the neighborhoods your father builds, rent checks matter more than dreams. In your house, toughness matters more than excuses. You learn early that there are people who own buildings and people who live in them. You decide you never want to be the second kind. You are loud, restless, hard to contain. Energy burns through you like electricity with no switch. School's not a sanctuary. It is a place where rules exist mainly to test whether you will push against them. At 13, your parents send you to the New York Military Academy, not as a reward, as correction. There the softness gets sandblasted off, uniforms, inspections. Beds made so tight a coin can bounce, marching in lines, men barking in your face. You learn something important. Discipline is not the enemy of ego. It is a weapon for sharpening it. You compete in sports, in ranking, in presence. You discover that command has a sound. A room changes when one voice takes control. You like that sound when it is yours. You're not the tallest giant in the room, not the wisest sage, not the quiet scholar. But you understand theater before you know the word for it. You know how to walk into a space as if it already belongs to you. This becomes one of your first true skills. College comes next. Fordham for a start, then Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania. Finance, real estate, numbers, leverage, image, scale. While other young men talk about ideals, you think in acreage, facades, loans, square footage. You're not dreaming of invention. You are dreaming of your name in giant letters. After graduation, you enter your father's business. Brooklyn, Queens, middle-income housing, practical buildings, functional money. Your father made a fortune in a world of rent, rolls, and careful construction. But you look across the river and see Manhattan glittering like a crown. To you, the outer boroughs are not enough. You do not want stable success. You want visible success. That is the difference. In the 1970s, New York is dirty, dangerous, bankrupt in spirit, and close to it on paper. Crime, graffiti, empty confidence. The city smells like garbage and possibility. Most people see rot. You see discount pricing. You start maneuvering deals, tax abatements, press calls, introductions, lawyers, bankers, public officials. Every room is a chessboard, every handshake a transaction with a smile painted over it. You learn that real estate is only partly about land. The rest is perception. If people believe a property matters, it matters more. If people believe you are inevitable, doors open before you touch them. Then comes your breakout move, the Commodore Hotel near Grand Central. A tired old carcass in a wounded city. You push, negotiate, package, persuade. Public assistance, private ambition. The old becomes the Grand Hyatt. Glass, shine, rebirth. Your name begins to move from business pages into broader culture. Not just a builder, a symbol. You taste attention and realize it is richer than profit. The 1980s arrive, and with them comes your preferred climate. Excess gold, mirrors, marble, television cameras. Manhattan becomes a stage where money wants to be seen, and you know exactly how to perform wealth. Trump Tower rises on Fifth Avenue, all polished surfaces and vertical ambition. It is not subtle. That's the point. It screams success, so no one has to ask. Your brand expands beyond buildings into a character, Donald Trump. The businessman is spectacle, the rich man is headline. You do not merely own, you display ownership. You understand a modern law before many others do. If the public keeps looking at you, you are never truly losing. Casinos, hotels, airlines, a football league gamble, big bets, bigger debt. Atlantic City glows with neon and risk. You build palaces for chance, monuments to people hoping luck will love them for one night. There's a strange poetry in that because your own empire is built on the same tension. Confidence backed by leverage, showmanship backed by borrowed mountains. From the outside, it looks invincible. Inside, the numbers begin to bite. The late 1980s and early 1990s hit like a steel door. The economy turns, debt stiffens, projects strain. The Taj Mahal casino opens under huge pressure. Your empire, so carefully lit for the cameras, is suddenly full of shadows banks can see. Newspapers feast on it. Commentators say the same word again and again, overextended. You're not the first powerful man to discover that cash flow is more honest than applause. For a while, it looks like the myth might crack. You negotiate with lenders, restructure, sell, survive. That becomes another core trait of your life. You may not avoid disaster, but you keep forcing yourself back into the frame. Where others disappear in shame, you counterattack with visibility. Public life and private life tangle together, marriages, divorces, tabloid wars. Ivana, then Marla, later Melania. The tabloids circle like gulls over blood in the harbor. In New York, celebrity and scandal are cousins. Your family becomes both shield and stage. Children grow up in the glare. Cameras don't ask whether the heat is good for anyone. They only ask whether it is dramatic. And you keep feeding the machine because by now you understand it better than most journalists who cover you. Outrage is not always damage. Sometimes it is fuel. Years pass. The brand mutates. Ties, hotels, golf courses, licensing deals, books with titles built like slogans, interviews, call-ins, cameos. You become less a man in a boardroom and more a floating symbol in American culture, somewhere between mogul, mascot, and warning sign. Some people admire the certainty, others recoil from it, but almost nobody's indifferent. Indifference is the one thing you never allow. Then television changes everything again. The Apprentice arrives in 2004, and suddenly you are not just a businessman known in New York and on business pages. You become a primetime authority figure in American living rooms. The set is polished power fantasy, boardroom, skyline, tension, ambition. Contestants fight for approval. You sit at the center, finger extended like a judge with a catchphrase sharp enough to cut through culture. You're fired. Those two words do more than entertain. They rewrite you. For millions, television replaces complexity with image. The messy history of debt, restructuring, lawsuits, and mixed business records gets flattened beneath a simpler story. Decisive tycoon, master deal maker, man who wins. It is branding on a national scale, maybe the most important real estate development of your life, except the property is your own face. By the 2000s, politics is already in the air around you, swirling for years through flirtations, comments, interviews, speculation. But flirting with political power and seizing it are different animals. Most people in your orbit understand fame. Fewer understand what happens when fame becomes a weapon sharpened for grievance. In 2015, you descend the escalator at Trump Tower. It is one of those moments that feels absurd until it becomes historic. Gold around you. Cameras waiting. Supporters staged in the lobby. The scene is so on-brand, it would be satire if it were not real. And then you announce your run for president. Many laugh. They think you are doing another publicity maneuver, another rating stunt, another ego parade that will flame out under the weight of actual politics. But they misunderstand something deep. The country is angrier than it looks from television studios. Institutions feel weak. Wages feel stagnant. Trust is falling through the floorboards. A huge number of Americans feel sneered at, bypassed, unheard. You do not invent that feeling. You grab it with both hands and give it a microphone. Your campaign breaks rules because you are, in many ways, a creature built from rule-breaking rewarded. Insults replace polished speeches. Rallies become spectacles of fury, loyalty, improvisation. Social media becomes your artillery. Traditional politicians speak in paragraphs. You speak in blows. Every scandal that should bury you becomes another test of political physics. Harsh language, controversial remarks, endless coverage. Opponents and commentators predict collapse over and over. But attention keeps flowing toward you like iron filings to a magnet. The more the establishment declares you impossible, the more your supporters enjoy proving it wrong. The Republican feel falls away. Senators, governors, polished veterans of the old system. One by one, they learn that debates are not the same thing as brawls. You win the nomination. Then comes 2016. Hillary Clinton stands on the other side. Experienced, connected, conventional in all the ways you're not. Most forecasts lean against you. Most elites brace for your defeat and talk as if the country is merely waiting to make it official. But elections are not dinner parties for experts. They are storms. Election night stretches long and electric. States begin shifting, margins tighten, then tilt. Shock spreads across television panels in real time. By morning, the impossible has happened. You are President of the United States. For a boy from Queens who learned that the room belongs to the man who acts like it does, this is the final room. But the presidency is not a tower with your name on it. It is a machine built by enemies, allies, laws, crises, bureaucracies, egos, and history. It does not obey branding alone. Your term begins in conflict and stays there. Executive orders, court fights, media wars, staffing chaos, investigations, rallies, trade battles, border politics, impeachment. Supporters see a fighter smashing stale norms. Critics see a destabilizing force testing every institutional seam. The country does not simply divide, it hardens. And at the center is the same force that drove you from the beginning. Confrontation is oxygen. You govern the way you campaigned, in motion, in combat, in public. Every day is a headline factory. Allies become rivals. Rivals become temporary allies. Then enemies again. Loyalty matters, narrative matters, optics matter. To your admirers, you are the wrecking ball they hired. To your opponents, you are proof that spectacle has conquered statecraft. Then 2020 arrives with the pandemic. A virus moves across the world with the indifference of weather and the precision of fate. Suddenly, no slogan can bully biology. Hospitals strain. Fear spreads. Markets convulse. The country becomes masks, briefings, numbers, blame, grief. Every leader in the world is tested by the crisis. You are tested in the harsh light of a nation already exhausted by constant conflict. The election comes again, this time against Joe Biden. The campaign is bitter, total, relentless. Mail ballots, accusations, lawsuits, rallies, pandemic restrictions, cultural war on full blast. You lose the electoral vote and the presidency. For many people, losing power is painful. For you, it is intolerable theater. You do not exit quietly. Claims of a stolen election become the new center of gravity around your movement. Courts reject key challenges. Officials refuse pressure in critical moments. Tension escalates. On January 6, 2021, the Capitol is attacked by a mob after a rally in Washington. The images tear across the world. Flags, smashed barriers, lawmakers fleeing, American democracy looking suddenly fragile and physical like glass under a boot. History closes its hand around the day. To your enemies, it confirms their darkest judgment. To your loyalists, the wider struggle remains about betrayal, power, and who gets to define legitimacy. Whatever anyone believes, the country does not come out cleaner on the other side. After the White House, many expect your grip on politics to fade. Many have expected that at every stage of your life, after debt, after scandal, after defeat, after impeachment, after chaos. Yet vanishing has never been your style. You remain central by force of personality, by loyalty networks, by media gravity, by the simple fact that millions still see in you either a champion or a threat so large they cannot look away. Legal battles multiply, investigations, indictments, judgments, headlines without end. Supporters call it persecution, critics call it accountability. The old pattern repeats in a new key. Crisis does not erase you, it amplifies you. And that may be the strangest truth of your life. You spend decades turning yourself into a symbol, and eventually the symbol grows bigger than the man. To some, you represent wealth, dominance, winning, rebellion against polished hypocrisy. To others, you represent vanity, division, excess, and the corrosion of civic norms by ego and spectacle. Either way, the flesh and blood person is almost gone beneath the layers of projection. That is the price of becoming an American myth while still alive. Everyone thinks they know you. Almost nobody can touch the actual center. If this is your whole life, then it is not a clean arc of rise and fall. It is a cycle: ambition, performance, crisis, survival, reinvention, again and again. Queens to military school, Manhattan to Atlantic City, bankruptcy pressure to television resurrection, celebrity to presidency, defeat to continued dominance over a movement that refuses to let you become yesterday's news. You live not like a quiet statesman or a hidden strategist. You live like a constant front-page storm. And in the end, maybe that is the real story. Not just money, not just power, not just politics, presence, the need to be seen, to shape the frame, to strike first, to refuse erasure. In another life, that energy might have built only towers. In this one, it reached all the way into the White House and tore through the national imagination. So if you were born Donald Trump, this would be your inheritance: a life of gold surfaces over steel instincts, of applause and litigation, of reinvention through conflict, of family, towers, slogans, cameras, enemies, loyalists, and a country that turned you into either a champion, a villain, or both at once. No monk writes your legend. No historian finishes the argument. The story's still fighting with itself. But one thing is certain: you were never going to live quietly. You came into the world in New York, where everything is for sale and every window reflects hunger. You learned to turn your own name into property, then into entertainment, then into political force. And whether people loved it, feared it, mocked it, or fought it, they had to deal with it. That was always the real victory you chased, not silence, attention. Thanks for watching, my friend. Leave a comment and tell me what story you'd like to hear next.